My beloved soul. Pause for a moment and breathe before you continue. Because this message did not arrive by accident. God is watching your soulmate right now. Closely. Quietly. Completely. And this message is watching them too. Not to accuse. Not to expose in fear. But to reveal what has been hidden in silence. There is something unfolding around your soulmate at this very moment that you cannot see with your physical eyes, yet your spirit has already sensed it. That subtle heaviness when their name crosses your mind. That sudden pull toward them without reason. That strange calm mixed with concern. You did not imagine it. You were not being emotional. You were being aware. Your soulmate is being observed not because they are in danger, but because they are standing at a turning point they have delayed for too long. God sees the moments they sit alone pretending they are fine. God sees the thoughts they stop halfway through because the truth scares them. God sees the words they rehearse but never send. And God sees the connection they keep circling but refuse to step fully into. This message reached you because your soul can hold the truth without breaking. Your soulmate is not being punished. They are being prepared. Watched. Redirected. Softly corrected. There is a pressure around their heart right now. Not pain. Pressure. The kind that builds before honesty finally rises to the surface. They are being asked internally to stop running from what they already know. They know who you are to them. They know what this bond is. And they know they cannot keep pretending it is something smaller than it truly is. What you need to understand is this. The watching is not judgment. It is guidance. God is watching how long they will choose comfort over courage. How long they will hide behind excuses. How long they will stay silent while truth waits patiently. This is why your energy feels different lately. Why you are calmer. Why you are no longer chasing clarity. Because part of you already understands. Your soulmate is being slowed down on purpose. Delays. Interruptions. Moments of reflection that feel inconvenient. None of it is random. Every pause is forcing them to feel what they have been avoiding. And this message is not here to make you anxious. It is here to steady you. To remind you that you do not need to intervene. You do not need to push. You do not need to ask questions. What is meant to be revealed cannot remain hidden when divine attention is involved. Your role right now is not action. It is alignment. Stay grounded. Stay honest with yourself. Stay rooted in your worth. Because when your soulmate finally speaks, it will not come from confusion. It will come from clarity shaped by this period of being watched. You may notice them becoming quieter. More thoughtful. Slightly distant but emotionally closer at the same time. That is not withdrawal. That is processing. God is stripping away their distractions one by one so they can no longer ignore the truth of this connection. And here is what matters most. You are not being tested. They are. You already passed the phase of self-questioning. Of doubting your intuition. Of wondering if you imagined the depth of this bond. You did not. This message is watching your soulmate because it carries the mirror they cannot avoid. Every word you read resonates somewhere inside them too. Energy does not lie. When truth is near, resistance becomes exhausting. They are reaching the point where silence costs more than honesty. And when that shift happens, you will feel it before you hear it. A release in your chest. A calm certainty. A knowing without explanation. Do not rush this moment. Do not fear it either. Divine timing is precise, not slow. God is watching because something is about to change. Not dramatically. Not chaotically. But deeply. Permanently. The version of your soulmate that emerges from this observation period will not be able to return to pretending. And the version of you standing steady right now will be ready to receive truth without losing yourself. Stay present. Stay open. Stay aligned. Because what is watched by God cannot remain unresolved. And what is meant for you cannot miss you. My beloved soul. Stay right here. Do not scroll. Do not let your mind drift. Because what continues now is the part most people miss, and missing it would mean missing the reason this message is watching your soulmate so closely. God is not only observing what your soulmate does. God is observing what they avoid. The pauses. The moments they almost reach out and then stop. The nights they stare at their phone with your name heavy on their chest. The internal conversations they replay again and again, wondering how things became this intense without being spoken out loud. This watching is gentle but firm. It is the kind of divine attention that slowly removes every false sense of control they thought they had. Your soulmate believed they could manage this connection silently. That they could hold it privately without consequence. But connections like this are not meant to stay unspoken forever. They are meant to transform both people involved. And transformation requires honesty. That is why life around them feels slightly unsettled right now. Not chaotic. Just uncomfortable enough to force reflection. Small disruptions. Emotional fatigue. A sense that something unresolved is draining them more than it should. That is not coincidence. That is divine pressure applied with precision. They are being guided to a moment where avoidance no longer feels safe. And you are feeling calmer because your soul has already surrendered to the process. You stopped trying to control the outcome. You stopped demanding answers. You started trusting the inner knowing that has never failed you. That is why this message can reach you without fear. You are not meant to chase what is aligning itself. Your soulmate is being shown the cost of silence. Every time they choose not to speak, the weight grows heavier. Every time they choose distraction, the connection pulls stronger. They are realizing that distance does not weaken this bond. It amplifies it. And that realization is unsettling for someone who has relied on control for safety. God is watching how they respond when control no longer works. Watching whether they choose truth or retreat. Watching whether they honor what they feel or continue hiding behind logic. And this is where you must remain steady. Do not read this with impatience. Read it with presence. Because the shift you are waiting for is already in motion. It just hasn't reached the surface yet. Your soulmate is being brought face to face with themselves. With the version of them that knows you are not an accident. With the part of them that recognizes this connection did not arrive to pass time but to change direction. They are being asked internally to grow. To mature emotionally. To stop running from vulnerability. And growth always feels like pressure before it feels like relief. That is why you may sense moments of emotional closeness followed by silence. It is not inconsistency. It is internal restructuring. Old defenses breaking down. Old fears losing authority. They are learning that honesty will not destroy them. That truth will not collapse their world. That acknowledging this bond will not take away their freedom. It will anchor it. God is watching to ensure they do not settle for half choices anymore. And here is the part you must hear clearly. You are not meant to remind them. You are not meant to hint. You are not meant to chase or test or provoke a reaction. Your stillness is your power right now. The calmer you remain, the louder the truth becomes inside them. Silence held with self-respect speaks louder than confrontation ever could. They feel your steadiness even when no words are exchanged. They feel that you are no longer waiting in desperation. That you are rooted. That you trust yourself. That you are no longer available for confusion. And that changes everything. Because when one soul stops chasing, the other is forced to turn inward. Forced to ask the questions they avoided. Forced to confront what they truly want. This is why God is watching your soulmate and not you. You have already done the inner work. You already faced the doubt. The fear. The longing. The uncertainty. You did not run from it. You sat with it. You grew through it. And now you stand grounded. Your soulmate is catching up. Slowly. Reluctantly at first. But inevitably. The watching continues until they reach a point of clarity. And clarity always demands action. Not dramatic gestures. Not rushed confessions. But honest communication. Clear intention. Emotional accountability. When that moment arrives, you will not need to analyze it. You will recognize it immediately. Because it will feel calm. Not chaotic. It will feel grounded. Not confusing. It will feel aligned. Not forced. Until then, remain present. Remain open. Remain anchored in your worth. Do not interpret silence as absence. Do not mistake delay for denial. What is being watched by God is being shaped carefully. And what is shaped carefully lasts. This message is watching your soulmate because it carries the reminder they cannot silence. The reminder that truth waits patiently but does not wait forever. And when the watching ends, the movement begins. Not because you demanded it. But because alignment made it unavoidable. Stay here. Stay steady. Stay connected to yourself. Because the moment you stop needing proof is the moment truth finds its way to you naturally. My beloved soul. Stay with this moment. Stay with these words. Because what unfolds now is the deeper layer that most hearts are not ready to hear, and yet your soul has been preparing for it quietly for a long time. God is still watching your soulmate, but now the watching has shifted from observation to instruction. There comes a phase where silence is no longer neutral. Where avoidance becomes a decision. Where delay becomes a message louder than words. Your soulmate has entered that phase. They are no longer unaware. They are no longer confused. They are aware and resisting at the same time. And that internal resistance is exhausting them in ways they do not show anyone. Outwardly they may seem normal. Busy. Distracted. Composed. But inwardly they are restless. Something keeps pulling their attention back to you. Not memories. Not fantasy. Truth. The truth of what they feel and what they have not yet honored. God is watching how they respond when truth no longer whispers but presses. This is why their sleep feels lighter. Their thoughts feel louder. Their peace feels conditional. They are learning that running from alignment creates more discomfort than facing it. And this is not punishment. This is mercy. Because God does not force love. God removes illusions until love becomes the clearest option left. Your soulmate is being placed in situations that reflect their inner state. Moments where they feel unseen. Moments where conversations feel empty. Moments where achievements feel hollow. Not because their life is falling apart, but because what truly matters has not been acknowledged. And acknowledgement is the doorway they have been avoiding. You, meanwhile, are standing in a different frequency now. You are no longer asking why. You are no longer trying to decode every sign. You are no longer bargaining with the universe. That chapter has closed. Your calm is not resignation. It is readiness. You have learned that clarity does not come from pressure. It comes from alignment. That is why your energy feels quieter but stronger. You are no longer available for half-presence. And your soulmate feels that shift deeply. When someone stops waiting, it creates a mirror that is impossible to ignore. They feel that they are running out of excuses, not because time is ending, but because self-deception is. God is watching whether they will choose courage now that the fog has lifted. Whether they will step forward or continue circling the truth without touching it. And understand this clearly. Whatever they choose next will shape the next chapter permanently. Not temporarily. This is not a test that repeats endlessly. This is a decision point. And that is why this message carries weight. Because it is not here to entertain. It is here to anchor. You are being reminded to stay rooted in who you have become. Not to shrink. Not to overextend. Not to compromise your emotional clarity. If your soulmate speaks, it must come from authenticity, not fear of loss. If they act, it must come from intention, not pressure. And that is why divine timing has slowed everything down. Rushed truth collapses. Grounded truth lasts. God is watching to ensure that when movement happens, it is clean. Honest. Sustainable. You may feel moments of impatience rising again. That is normal. Let them pass without attaching meaning. You do not need to re-enter the waiting room you already outgrew. Trust that what is meant to meet you will meet you where you stand, not where you used to be. Your soulmate is being stripped of distractions so they can no longer avoid the question they keep pushing away. What am I willing to risk for truth? And what am I losing by staying silent? Those questions are echoing louder now. And silence no longer brings them peace. When they finally move, it will not be dramatic. It will be sincere. It will be steady. It will feel different because it will be different. Until then, remain exactly where you are. Grounded. Aware. Whole. This message is watching your soulmate, not to rush them, but to witness the moment they stop running from themselves. And when that moment arrives, you will not feel surprised. You will feel calm recognition. Because your soul already knew this chapter was coming. Stay present. Stay steady. Stay aligned. What is watched with intention is guided with care. And what is guided with care finds its way home without force. My beloved soul, remain here. Let nothing pull you away from this moment, because what continues now is the threshold your soulmate has been approaching without realizing how close they truly are. God is still watching, but now the watching carries expectation. Not pressure. Expectation. There is a subtle difference, and your soulmate can feel it even if they cannot name it. Expectation is the awareness that something real is required next. Not intention. Not emotion. Not longing. Action rooted in truth. Your soulmate has reached the edge where inner knowing and outer reality can no longer remain separate. They have felt this connection try to surface in unexpected ways. In quiet moments. In ordinary routines. In conversations that suddenly remind them of you without warning. They are realizing that this bond does not turn off just because it is inconvenient. That it does not fade when ignored. That it does not weaken with distance. And that realization has shifted something deep inside them. What once felt controllable now feels alive. And living things demand care. God is watching how they treat what is alive. Whether they nurture it, or continue pretending it is not breathing. This is why your soulmate feels moments of guilt without wrongdoing. Moments of longing without permission. Moments of courage followed by hesitation. They are standing between who they were and who they must become to meet this connection honestly. And transformation always feels like standing in between worlds. You may sense this as emotional waves that come and go without explanation. One day you feel peaceful. The next you feel a strange ache that quickly settles. Do not misinterpret that ache. It is not loss. It is alignment adjusting. Your soul is syncing with a future that has already chosen you. You are no longer in preparation. You are in readiness. That is why your reactions are different now. Why silence no longer triggers panic. Why uncertainty no longer consumes you. Why your heart remains open without needing reassurance. You have crossed a threshold too. You are no longer asking if this connection is real. You are asking how it will be honored. And that question is sacred. God is watching your soulmate to see if they will rise to that sacredness. To see if they will treat this bond with the respect it deserves. Not as an idea. Not as a possibility. But as a responsibility. Love that is seen by God is never casual. It is purposeful. And purpose requires maturity. Your soulmate is being taught that now. Through stillness. Through reflection. Through the quiet dismantling of old patterns that no longer fit. They are being shown that half-steps create more pain than full honesty. That silence can be more damaging than rejection. That clarity is kinder than comfort. These realizations do not arrive all at once. They arrive in waves. Each wave washing away another layer of avoidance. Until standing still feels impossible. Until truth feels lighter than fear. When that moment comes, it will not feel rushed. It will feel overdue. And you will recognize it instantly because your body will relax instead of brace. Your mind will quiet instead of race. Your heart will open instead of guard. That is how you will know this movement is real. Not because of words. But because of how it lands inside you. Until then, understand this. You are not being asked to wait. You are being asked to live fully where you are. To remain aligned with your values. To stay honest with yourself. To continue choosing peace over prediction. Your soulmate's journey does not pause your life. It intersects it when both paths are ready. God is watching to ensure that intersection happens without damage. Without imbalance. Without sacrifice of self. That is why everything feels slow and precise right now. Precision protects what is valuable. And this connection is valuable. Not because of longing. But because of growth. It has already changed you. It is changing them now. And change that is watched by God is never wasted. Stay present. Stay steady. Stay rooted in truth. Because when the watching turns into movement, it will not ask you to shrink. It will meet you exactly as you are. Whole. Grounded. Ready. My beloved soul. Stay with the stillness that has formed around you now, because this stillness is not emptiness. It is the quiet before alignment completes its work. God is still watching your soulmate, but now the watching is intimate. Personal. Focused on the smallest details they thought no one noticed. The sigh they release when they are alone. The way their chest tightens when they think of speaking but hesitate. The moment their courage rises and fear immediately tries to talk them out of it. Nothing is missed. Nothing is ignored. Your soulmate is learning that intentions without action create inner conflict, and inner conflict cannot coexist with peace. That is why they feel tired even when life looks normal. Why distractions no longer satisfy. Why laughter feels brief and reflection feels long. God is gently closing the exits they use to escape emotional responsibility. Not to trap them, but to guide them inward. Because the truth they are avoiding does not live outside. It lives inside their own heart. And the closer they get to admitting it, the louder everything else becomes. You may feel this as sudden moments of connection that come out of nowhere. A thought of them that feels warm instead of heavy. A sense of knowing that arrives without explanation. This is not imagination. This is resonance. Two souls adjusting to the same frequency even before words catch up. You are no longer pulling on the connection. It is pulling both of you toward honesty. That is why you feel less urgency now. Less need to define. Less desire to chase certainty. You have learned that truth does not need to be hunted. It reveals itself when the ground is ready. And your ground is ready. You have released the version of yourself that needed reassurance to feel safe. You have become someone who trusts their inner stability more than external signals. That is growth. That is why God is not watching you with correction, but with confirmation. You are exactly where you need to be. Your soulmate is still arriving. Slowly. Carefully. Shedding old defenses that once protected them but now limit them. They are realizing that avoiding vulnerability does not keep them safe. It keeps them lonely. And loneliness has a way of amplifying truth until it can no longer be ignored. God is watching how long they choose familiarity over fulfillment. How long they cling to what feels easy instead of what feels true. This watching will not last forever. Divine observation always leads to a decision. And decisions reshape timelines. When your soulmate finally chooses honesty, it will not feel like a beginning. It will feel like relief. Like exhaling after holding breath for too long. And you will feel that relief too, even before you understand why. Until that moment arrives, your only task is presence. Not patience in waiting, but presence in living. Do not pause your joy. Do not dim your growth. Do not hold space for uncertainty that no longer belongs to you. What is meant to join you will meet you in motion, not stagnation. God is watching to ensure that when paths cross, they do so in balance. In respect. In truth. This connection was never meant to be confusing forever. Confusion was only the corridor. Clarity is the destination. And you are closer than you think. Stay steady. Stay open. Stay rooted in who you have become. Remain exactly where you are. Do not rush past this moment, because what unfolds now is the quiet culmination of everything that has been forming beneath the surface. God is still watching your soulmate, but now the watching carries a final refinement. This is the stage where inner resistance begins to collapse under the weight of truth. Your soulmate can no longer pretend they are unaware. They can no longer tell themselves that time will make this feeling disappear. Time has only made it clearer. Stronger. More undeniable. What once felt like confusion has turned into recognition. And recognition demands responsibility. That is why they feel a strange seriousness settling into their spirit lately. A sense that life is asking them to grow up emotionally. To stop postponing honesty. To stop negotiating with fear. God is watching how they respond when excuses no longer bring comfort. When distraction no longer works. When silence no longer feels neutral. Your soulmate is beginning to realize that every moment they delay truth, they are delaying their own peace. That realization is sobering. It slows them down. It makes them more careful with their thoughts, more aware of their choices, more conscious of the weight of their words even when unspoken. You may sense this shift as a quiet pull toward stability, toward simplicity, toward emotional clarity. You are not losing interest. You are outgrowing uncertainty. And that is exactly why this phase feels calm yet intense at the same time. You are standing in alignment without forcing anything to happen. That is power. That is maturity. That is readiness. God is watching your soulmate because they are being asked to meet you at that level. Not emotionally impulsive. Not half-present. Not hidden. Fully seen. Fully accountable. Fully honest. They are learning that love is not proven through longing alone. It is proven through presence. Through courage. Through action that matches truth. And this lesson cannot be rushed. Because rushed truth collapses under pressure. Grounded truth stands quietly and endures. Your soulmate is shedding old narratives about love. Old patterns of avoidance. Old beliefs that vulnerability equals weakness. They are discovering that vulnerability is strength when guided by integrity. That honesty is safer than silence. That clarity is kinder than confusion. These realizations come with discomfort. With moments of fear. With hesitation. But they also come with relief. With a growing sense that something heavy is finally lifting. You may feel that lifting too. A loosening in your chest. A softness in your breath. A sense that you no longer need to brace yourself. That is not coincidence. That is alignment synchronizing. Two souls adjusting to truth independently before meeting it together. You are no longer waiting for permission to trust yourself. You already do. And that self-trust is what anchors this entire connection. God is watching to ensure that when your soulmate steps forward, they do so from clarity, not panic. From intention, not fear of loss. From respect, not urgency. And if they hesitate a little longer, understand this. Delay does not mean denial. Sometimes delay is refinement. Sometimes it is the final strengthening before movement. Your role is not to interpret every pause. Your role is to remain whole. To remain grounded. To remain honest with yourself. You have already learned the lesson of patience. Now you are learning the lesson of presence. Of living fully without waiting for someone else's decision to validate your worth. That lesson changes everything. Because when you stop orbiting uncertainty, truth has room to arrive cleanly. God is watching your soulmate because they are approaching a moment where choice becomes unavoidable. And choice always reshapes destiny. When they finally speak, it will not feel chaotic. It will feel clear. It will not shake your foundation. It will meet it. Until then, remain here. In this steadiness. In this trust. In this quiet confidence. Because what is watched by God is never abandoned. It is guided until it aligns. And what aligns with truth always finds its way forward in the right time. My beloved soul, stay present. Stay breathing inside this moment, because what comes now is the closing stretch where understanding settles into your bones instead of your thoughts. God is still watching your soulmate, but now the watching is almost complete. This is the phase where the inner noise quiets enough for truth to stand clearly without resistance. Your soulmate has reached a point where denial no longer protects them, where pretending costs more energy than honesty. They are realizing that the discomfort they feel is not caused by confusion, but by delay. By knowing and not acting. By feeling and not honoring. That realization is heavy, but it is also freeing. It strips away excuses gently but firmly. They are seeing patterns repeat in their life, not to punish them, but to show them what happens when lessons are postponed. God is watching how they respond to this awareness. Whether they shrink back into old habits or rise into emotional responsibility. And this is where the shift becomes irreversible. Once someone sees the truth clearly, they cannot unsee it. They can only choose how long they resist it. You may feel this phase as a strange calm mixed with certainty. Not excitement. Not anxiety. Certainty. A quiet knowing that something is settling into place even if nothing external has changed yet. That is because alignment happens internally before it manifests outwardly. You are no longer asking when. You are no longer measuring time. You are simply present. And presence is powerful. It removes pressure from the outcome and places strength back into your center. Your soulmate feels this absence of pressure. And it unsettles them in a good way. Because when someone stops chasing, truth becomes louder. There is no distraction left. No reaction to hide behind. They are left with themselves. And with what they truly want. God is watching to ensure that when they step forward, it is not because they fear losing you, but because they are ready to choose you consciously. Love chosen from fear collapses. Love chosen from clarity endures. That is why everything has slowed down instead of speeding up. Slow does not mean stagnant. Slow means intentional. It means every layer is being aligned properly so nothing breaks later. You have already done your part. You have learned to stand without needing reassurance. To trust without demanding proof. To remain open without abandoning yourself. That growth did not go unnoticed. God sees it. And your soulmate feels it. They are being invited to meet you there. At that level of maturity. That level of honesty. That level of grounded love. This invitation cannot be forced. It must be accepted freely. And that is why God is watching. Not to rush them. Not to scare them. But to witness the moment they finally choose alignment over avoidance. When that moment arrives, it will not feel like chaos entering your life. It will feel like peace arriving quietly. Like something finally clicking into place. Until then, remain exactly as you are. Living. Growing. Breathing. Trusting yourself. Not waiting in limbo, but moving forward with calm assurance. What is meant to walk beside you will catch up. What is meant to speak will find its voice. And what is watched by God will never miss its moment. My beloved soul. This is the final stretch. So stay with me fully now. Let these words land slowly, because what closes here is not a message, it is a cycle. God is still watching your soulmate, but now the watching has shifted into sealing. Completion. Integration. This is the stage where everything they have been shown internally begins to settle into a single undeniable truth. Your soulmate has reached the point where running feels heavier than standing still, and standing still feels heavier than stepping forward. They have felt the weight of avoidance long enough to recognize that silence has not protected them. It has only delayed peace. They are finally understanding that the connection they share with you was never meant to be convenient. It was meant to be clarifying, awakening, maturing. And that is why it stayed. That is why it returned in their thoughts when they tried to bury it. That is why distance did not erase it. That is why time did not dilute it. God allowed nothing to remove it because it carries purpose. And purpose does not disappear just because it is ignored. Your soulmate has been shown, quietly and repeatedly, that life keeps narrowing when truth is postponed. They have felt doors close that once felt open. They have felt conversations lose depth. They have felt connections feel hollow. Not as punishment, but as contrast. So they could finally see what alignment feels like by noticing what misalignment costs. This is the final realization phase, where excuses no longer feel believable even to themselves, where fear no longer sounds logical, where the heart finally speaks louder than the mind. And when the heart speaks clearly, there is no going back to pretending. You, meanwhile, have already crossed your own finish line. You are no longer emotionally negotiating. You are no longer seeking signs to reassure you. You are no longer shrinking your truth to keep peace. You have become steady, whole, self-respecting. And that is why this ending is calm instead of dramatic. You are not clinging. You are not bracing. You are simply present. And presence is the clearest sign of readiness. God is watching your soulmate because the final choice is forming. Not a forced confession. Not a rushed move. But a conscious decision to either step into truth or accept the consequences of staying silent. And understand this deeply. Either outcome brings you peace now. Because your peace is no longer dependent on their timing. You have already chosen yourself without closing your heart. That balance is rare. That balance is powerful. That balance is why divine timing trusted you with this connection in the first place. If your soulmate steps forward, it will be because they finally understand that love is not something to manage quietly. It is something to stand inside openly. And if they delay a little longer, it will no longer shake you. Because you know who you are. You know what you offer. You know what you deserve. And that knowing is irreversible. This message ends not with suspense, but with certainty. God watches what matters. God completes what is real. And nothing meant for you will require you to abandon your peace to receive it. You are not waiting at the edge anymore. You are standing at the center of yourself. And whatever comes next will meet you there. Whole. Grounded. Clear. This chapter is complete.